I've been seeing a pattern in people around me, including clients and coworkers and people I bump into. And that pattern is seeking things from organizations or people that are not able to provide it. Now, some of these things that I think people seek, the common ones that I see, are a feeling of being appreciated, of being loved and understood, of being accepted or validated, and there's this tendency to reach out to people and organizations that just aren't able to provide those things. It's not even, some of them may even want to. Some of them may even promise to provide those things, but they're just not able to. And of course, what this leads to when the person seeks out and then that to the person or organization and it's not provided, it leaves this feeling of being betrayed and abandonment, and it often ties into, earlier experiences, which is probably where this whole pattern started. So I want to lay out a few examples just to bring this home a little bit so you know what the heck I'm talking about. So I think I've mentioned I work part-time at a hospital in Medford, Oregon, and I live in Ashland, but I work in Medford, and it's the hospital there and across the country. I think hospitals are going through crisis, so they're trying to survive, and there's a lot of upheaval in upper management. And upper management at this particular hospital is not stellar at assuring its employees that they're in good standing with their job, etc., that they're appreciated and that type of thing. And the number of times I've listened to my coworkers, just talk about how they just don't feel like the hospital appreciates them or supports them or really, just acknowledges the work they do. And these may be reasonable things to want, but with this particular hospital, I think we can honestly say that that this hospital is not able to provide those things, at least at this time. It's in crisis. And how do we know that? Because they've gone through this cycle of being disappointed and betrayed numerous times, like tens and, hundreds of times perhaps if they've been working there for a while. So it's like they're not able to provide it. Now, we could get into the morality of like, should they provide it? But that's where we get into trouble. It's like, quite possibly they should. And I'm sure some businesses, some kind of more progressive businesses are providing those things. And that's great. You could, then go potentially, if they offer a job in your field, you could go get a job there. But this particular business and many businesses are not able to provide that. And yet people keep going to them and getting betrayed and abandoned and disappointed over and over again. So that's one example. Okay, another example is going back to family of origin and getting them to finally love and support you for who you are, and see you, for who you are. And again, 9 times out of 10, I shouldn't say that. Many families are not able to do that. And so why is that? Well, a lot of the people that I bump into have, like we'll take my clients, for instance. My clients have done a lot of work on themselves. They came in with a lot of awareness. They came into this life, most of them with a lot of awareness. They're sensitive. They've done a lot of spiritual work. And so they vibrate at a pretty high level, and that, there's or I've sometimes called that a higher level of consciousness, right? And the rule is, the law, if you will, I don't do many laws, but this is definitely a law. Someone of a lower level of consciousness cannot comprehend what's going on at a higher level of consciousness. All they have is they try to bring what you're saying into their level of consciousness, which usually, and so they aren't able, they are literally not able to see you as you are. They're not able to appreciate your new successes in that. And but we go back because they're our family, right? And they ought to, or they're our friend group from high school or from college, and or they ought to be able to. Here is again the should. They should be able to accept me. They're my own parents. Like, what the heck's wrong? And here, they're just, for whatever reason, they're just not able to. And so we keep going back over and over again, and it just creates this pattern, And so one of the interesting things is, like, why do we do this? Like, why do we go to people that that are not able and or willing to provide us things? It could be in a relationship that people are not happy with, and they keep expecting their significant other, their husband, their wife, that to accept them, and they're not, and or their friend, or whoever it is. So again, I want to go back to, like, I wonder why we do this, and I've often talked about this. I think the core issue of it often gets down to what I call accepting necessary loss. And that is that usually it starts in childhood when one or both of our parents were not able to accept us as we were. And so then, and this is at a young age, we translate that as there must be something wrong with us. We must be unlovable or whatever else, or not enough. Or else our own parents would be able. And this creates this, like, really primary emotional wound. You could almost call it a spiritual wound. And so the tendency is, and I've shared this before, is if we feel like if we could get someone like our parents, or someone, or a significant other that is not emotionally available, not able to provide that thing, or a workplace, or a boss, or a company, or a community, or a friend group, or whatever else, if we could get that, the cool kids at school, whatever it is, if we could get a group that's not able to accept us, and then somehow get them to accept us, okay, then it would somehow resolve this issue. It would be like getting our parent to finally love us and accept us for who we are. And it's one of those things it's a great idea that doesn't work, because even if that person or organization is ready to change exactly when you need them to change, it still doesn't resolve the core wound of, your own parents didn't love you and accept you at 6 years old and 8 years old and 10 years old. It doesn't resolve those. Those things have to be grieved and healed at the core. It doesn't work to work them out by getting unavailable people to love us. All that does is frustrates the hell out of us, re-traumatizes, triggers us, and actually just obfuscates it, kind of just prevents us from getting down to the real wound, and so anyway, that's often where it comes from. But I'm interested in the more practical. It's like, so my is like, what do we do now? Healing's great, and sir, if you feel like you still need to do some of that work, then go attend to that. Do some therapy, do some sessions with me or someone that is able to guide you in that. But what I'm really want to say today is, let's look at these relationships as they are. Let's look at our family of origin, our workplace, or people that our friends, or people that we're dating, or people that, whatever. Let's see them as they are. It's springtime. It's time for eagle medicine and seeing things as they are. Let's see them, and let's expect realistic things from them. If they're not able to validate you and accept you as you are because they can't comprehend who you are, then, like, create a relationship that's realistic. Like, you provide this and they provide that. Sometimes it could be a more transactional relationship. It's like, and that may seem, transactional relationships are bad. It's like, well, some relationships are. When the example I used the other day in a session is like, if you buy a pair of sunglasses, you get the pair of sunglasses, okay, and you give them whatever, $70, and then that's a transaction, and then you're happy. You don't feel betrayed that they didn't love you, when they did that. It was because you didn't expect that. So the point I want to make is we kind of set ourselves up to be betrayed when we expect people to provide things they're not able to. So the way we can resolve this is expect them to like accept them, trust them. The expression we used to use is trust them to be who they are. Like expect them to offer what they're able to offer. And then the other needs you have, like feeling validated. Some of these are things we ought to be providing ourselves anyway. If it's about being loved, then let's find people and organizations and communities that are able to accept us as we are. That's why we do sharing circles and social gatherings here in town. Like that's why is the idea is like we do want to provide arenas. So going there and feeling a sense of belonging makes sense, but going to a place that doesn't understand belonging at the level that you need it is just a setup to feel betrayed and disappointed and re-traumatized. So anyway, that is my video for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome week. And my invitation is as you go through your week, just think about, the people you interact with and the companies and the organizations and the communities you interact with. Like, what are they truly able to provide, and what are you expecting them to provide? Is like, are you expecting them to provide something that they're not able to? And then what experience does that tend to lead to? And I will see you in a week.